police decide to go home and stop policing the line, or is there an opportunity for you to just go home when it technically finishes, even if there's a lot of people are still there? And what does kind of debrief look like for you guys? Do you have any packing up to do, or obviously the stages have to go? What does after the march look like? Is what I'm asking.
You go first, Billy.
Okay. In Perth last time was it was a bit of a nightmare packing up and everything because I'm not sure if everyone here notices, but we used the truck last time, so like we sort of had to move everything around on the back of the truck, which was the stage, doubled up as a stage. Um, but like yeah, so we hung around at Parliament House for probably a solid hour and a half, 2 hours after everyone had left. The police actually followed the NSN group out and everyone that stayed to hang around with them. And then we, as organisers, and there was a few like media, like reporters, and a few of our speakers were just there doing interviews and all that sort of thing. Um, in our original space that we started at, we didn't really leave anything behind, so there was no packing up to do down there. Everything had already been sort of packed and moved over to Parliament House. We did have a bit of a debrief for everyone because we were so unorganised last time. We didn't really meet until the morning of, so we got to just hang around.
So yeah, we won't be going there again. Hopefully we will go somewhere else. But yeah, it's normally pretty fun afterwards after an event like that, I think, because you don't get to see who you know that's actually there until afterwards and the crowd starts dispersing. And then it's awesome because you're like, oh, I know you, I know you. It's awesome, I reckon. We've got two hands. I'm not sure who was first. Was it Benno or Rachel first?
Might have been Rachel first and then Benno.
No,
but I
it
could
was
be wrong.
Benno. It was
Oh,
Benno.
my bad. Okay, yep.
Ladies first. I'll
Come on
throw
up.
my hand back up. Rachel can go first.
Oh, all right then. Rachel, you come up.
Oh, fuck, okay. I was just going to say, like, as a participant at Perth, the after it was quite good. Like, wandering back down to the train station with all these boomers. I don't know if Billy saw them, there was a heap of boomers there. And they were all just going off about trannies and this, that, and the other, thinking how they hate them and whatnot. But Perth doesn't have the same amount of retards that Melbourne does. So the counter protest was really small. And the atmosphere on the day was absolutely brilliant, you know. So all kudos to the guys who organised it. You did a fantastic job. And as a participant, it was really well won for Heaser when it came together nicely.
Oh, it's good to hear. Thanks, mate.
Go for it, Benno.
Hey. Just curious. I've never marched in my life, but I marched a couple of months ago in Brisbane, at the anti-immigration march, and it was a peaceful day. It was a good day. My first experience, marching or protesting against anything, and probably older than most of you in here. I'm just curious with this next protest coming up. A couple of things. First thing was like in retrospect. I guess I'm not sure. I'm curious, Becky. You sort of like, would you change anything if you had the opportunity to change it again? Would you let those at the NSN like sort of like speak like they did, or take the mic, or sort of have a part in sort of in that protest? Would you give them as much ground next time around? Because I mean, like, I think there's a middle ground to be found here. And the press love to jump on opportunity to smear what 99% of the people were there for, right? So just I'm curious as far as where you sort of stand in retrospect back as far as the next march goes and those people being involved. Are you going to involve them or not? And also, I think there's been a lot of silence on the upcoming censoring or the internet sort of censoring that's coming up. I think there's not enough noise about that. I think there's a lot of questions that need to be asked. If we're going to sort of like 3PL out our data and for all of us, including our children. Then as a parent, I'm concerned about that. And I think not enough questions being asked. Hey, like these tech bros are going to be holding all the data on all of us, right? And there's an immense like risk inherent with that. And I think there needs to be a lot more noise about that. And I guess my other question would be to you, Beck, would be, and to anyone else in the room, what's the agenda of this next march? Again, because I'm a person who's never marched before up until a couple of months ago, right? Because it's a pretty worthy cause. And I'm not racist, but I want to preserve the Australian way of life. There's enough sort of voices doing that at the moment to say, hey, like, we've got a culture here. This is, we can sustain so much. And the reality of cost of living is fucking pretty unbearable for most people, right? We want to give our children the future that we've had. So that's what most people sort of there for. Also, this next march, do we have very specific sort of targeted points why we're marching and who we're going to like sort of include and denounce at the same time? Is there like there needs to be some sort of really clear guidelines there and make them known? I think my tip would be make them known sort of early on, so that way get ahead of the curve, so to speak, as far as what the press, the Murdoch type press are going to do in response to they're going to the Nazi, all that sort of bullshit, right? Want to sort of like because 99% of the people are not that. So, do you have any sort of, so that's my question. My two questions
Yeah.
really, what are we marching for? And, are you going to include those people as well?
Yeah. All right. So, well, first off, let me start by saying that the NSN have actually put out a statement saying that they will not be at October 19th. They don't believe that we need to be marching again this soon. I personally disagree, but each to their own. But yes, first of all, they won't be coming. However, even if they were coming, they would still be allowed to come. I will not denounce them. I don't believe in denouncing people. That's just my personal choice. Would I do anything different? Well, we're still going to have an open mic. But as I said, they've made a statement saying that they won't be there. So I doubt you'll actually hear an NSN member speaking unless someone's there out of uniform. But yeah, we will be doing an open mic, which we've explained the reasons in the past why. And is there anything else that I would change? The only thing that I would probably change is, and they know this as well because I wasn't happy about it. But they managed to get right up the front of the march. And there's a video that's going around and I think is quite funny because whoever took the video got rid of some of the sound of me saying, "What the fuck are you doing?" The media's right there taking photos, like, you just fucking fucked this up for me. Thanks, guys. So yeah, I'd maybe tell them, look, can you just back it up and let some normal everyday Australians come forward first? And then you guys can just go behind them. Just because there were so many Australians that were proud to be there. No, it's not set up and everything. So maybe if Jesse and I discuss it before the day and work out exactly how many speakers we'll allow up, and maybe we can make that a firm announcement so everybody knows. Typical, you're up, mate?
Yeah, thanks for the mic. Benno brought up several points, but one that's just stuck with me because I see both myself and Benno are anonymous accounts, but he brought up, I'm not a racist. And there's something, I don't know, it sticks in my ribs, like I'm a racist. I am. I'm not afraid of that word. That's why I am anonymous online. Benno is also anonymous
I'm not
online.
anon, bro. I'm Benno.
Yeah, you're using an AI avatar, mate. You're you're anonymous online.
If you want me to
like-
send you a fucking DM of what I look like, bro, you
I
ask,
don't.
bro.
I
That's
don't.
all I'm saying.
I don't. But your public presenting position is it's not your identity,
It's
is
Twitter,
it?
bro. That's all. It's Twitter. People are different. Just because it's not
That doesn't mean
Facebook,
anything.
bro.
It's Twitter. Like, what are you trying to say? Like, have you got
That's
your
my Facebook on
identity?
March, bro. I don't fucking care. I'm not Antifa, man. I'm not left. I'm fucking,
You,
you know.
you don't wear a mask like it's COVID. Like,
No,
I don't know
no,
what you're
bro.
talking about
I'm
now.
asking my
Anyway,
Aussie flag,
I
bro.
just wanted to
Face out.
say, like, why do we care? Why do we still care? I don't even care about what definition you want to put forward as to what racism is. Uh, if you want to put it in a humorous way, it's like black Americans, how they go on about, yeah, them crackers, they nigger was an offensive word. We own that word now, like let's own the word racist in the most basic form that everyone can agree on. If you're called racist as a white person, in the simplest form, it simply means you prefer your own race and you want your own race to benefit, say, from the civilization that they're living in, that they themselves built. So why are we scared of being called racist? Like we're in 20. Oh, it's I'm. This is like 2015 shit. I mean, I'm sorry I don't hang around these
There's
circles, but
different levels of racism.
why are we
Wait,
scared of being
hold on,
called
don't
racist?
interrupt. Yeah, let Typical finish.
I think I've said I've got my point across.
If you love your culture, it doesn't make you racist because you
Yeah,
hate
but
the
mate,
other
where does
culture is
culture come
racism,
from?
bro.
It
You know
comes
what I
from
mean?
your race.
Yeah, but I can love my culture. I love Aussies, right? It doesn't
Where
mean I
does your
fucking.
culture come from? Where does
Yeah, but
Australian culture
I'm not
come from?
questioning that, bro. I'm not questioning that
I'm
one bit. All
asking
I'm
you.
saying is like racism. The definition.
I'm asking you.
Is like to hate another race or you know, I don't think that preferencing or wanting to prioritize your own country's benefit and it to grow and strengthen and gain and your kids and their kids and the people like your country to fucking grow. That's a beautiful thing, bro. That's nationalistic, right? Like, but to say to be racist is to fucking say, you know, to cast aspersions or put down another race. There's a lot of good people from a lot of other races, right? And Australia's made up of a lot of races. Okay, but to be racist by definition,
Mate,
definition is
where does
it's
culture
basically
come from?
it's basically just saying like at the end of the day, like you know, there's culture and there's race, right? So you got to preserve
Where does culture come from?
your mum. I don't know what kind
Yes,
of
my
question was
mum.
that.
It does. It does. It comes from my family, and it comes from the family before them. It comes from my race. You fucking smart ass
Doesn't
cunt.
mean you have to hate another race though in order to love
Yeah,
your
I
own
don't
race.
have to hate
There's a
another race,
difference.
but in
That's all I'm
fact,
trying to
I
say
do.
to you.
I do hate the other
Two
races
bloods,
because they are harmful to my own.
not all of them.
And I hate
And there's a
that
lot of
which is a
cultures that
threat to
are.
which I love. And I love my family. I love my race. I love my own people. So I hate that which is a threat to them. But I don't have to hate them because I'm driven by the love of my own. So why are you scared of being called a fucking racist?
Because
You're scared of being
I'm not
told,
scared.
oh, you love your family, you love your cousins, you love your town, you love your people, you love your culture.
You
Why are
from
you scared of
Tasmania?
that?
How much do you love your
All right, look,
cousin?
I don't think that you guys are going to sort this out. And if I'm being 100% honest, I think that Benno, I think you're a little bit stuck in society's perception of things. I feel like you're where I was maybe 2 years ago because there was a line that you said when you first spoke, which was you're wanting to preserve our Australian heritage and culture. That is what gets you labeled racist. So if we are looking at what the media will call you for that line and only that line, you are viewed as a far right
Not letting
extreme
the media
racist.
define racism then. I won't do that. That's
Well,
different. I
well, this
don't
is
see
what
that as
I
racist. That's if you listen to the left and you want to accept that that's their definition, go for it. And then you can call me a racist because I love Australia and I preserve the culture. I don't define racism the same way you do, which you're leaning from the left to let it
That's
define
all
it
well
for
and good,
you.
mate,
Well,
but
no,
you
I'm
do
not.
need to
You just
understand
said
where
it.
culture comes from. It doesn't just magically appear.
Mate, Benno, I'm not saying that that is my definition. If I was worried about being viewed as racist, I wouldn't be doing March for Australia. because that's exactly what I'm labelled as, because that's our beliefs, that we want to preserve Australian culture and heritage and we want to defend our people. But I'm saying that that is what's viewed as racist
By
these
the
days.
left. By the left. Most people on the right
By
don't
This was
even
the
don't,
point I was
centre.
trying to bring
that's
up
the
at the
difference.
start.
But this
Like,
is a
if
critical
you're
issue.
anonymous, you don't
Listen, little kid,
need to
shut
be
the fuck up.
anonymous and
You
say, I
sound
want to
like you're 20
preserve
years old, bro.
Australian culture, because no.
Okay. I just muted all of them. This is going nowhere. So let's move on to Antonio, please. Thank you.
Thank you, Billy. I hate doing that shit.
Hang on, guys. Can I just jump in first here? It's not just the left who label this stuff racist, mate. We have probably nearly 50% of the people coming after us in the most nasty way are conservatives. So make of that what you will, but that's what's happening. So
They're not conservative then, mate.
well, they are.
What have they conserved in the last 80 years?
Anyways, moving on to Antonio now.
Thanks, Beck, Dead Set, and Baylie for hosting, and W Typical Bloke. I just wanted to give a quick just point on the NSN. So the NSN, from what I understand, is they really want to just keep Australia Australian. I don't agree with the NSN completely, but in my opinion, as a Spanish-speaking immigrant, there is absolutely nothing wrong with wanting to keep Australia Australian. You know, the way Joel Davis said it, he really said it beautifully. Why does Australia have to be multicultural? Why can't Australia be Australian? That's a fair point. And it's more than that, because the NSN are not nearly as radical as Antifa. They're not nearly as radical and as hateful. And I have evidence for this because there was a rally for Australia a few weeks ago. It wasn't the one organized by Beck, it was the other one. I was in town, I was walking from the art gallery back to town hall, and they were in the middle, so I thought I'd join in. When I was there, I bumped into some people from Antifa. They had their face covered, they were wearing goggles and scarves around their mouths, and they were just walking by to go to some like Aboriginal, you know, we never seceded, blah, blah, blah kind of protest. When I spoke to them in good faith, because of the assassination of Charlie Kirk would have been a few days before that, they told me to my face that they were happy, they were glad that Charlie Kirk was murdered. They told me, we are happy he was murdered, we're happy they killed him in cold blood. Now, I haven't heard anyone in the NSN ever condone violence or even want to murder any one of their political opponents. So if we're going to be hateful and intolerant of anybody, we should be hateful and intolerant of Antifa. The NSN are not as radical as them. Looking forward to going to the march very soon.
Thanks, man. I tend to agree with you. That was my argument to a lot of people, that the March for Australia attendees weren't calling for death and violence. My words were twisted into making it sound that way, yes, but nobody was actually calling for death and violence on the day. And I think that people need to remember that. Rachel, I think you were up next, and then Juggernaut.
Yeah, I just want to take the piss a little bit and ask Billy a question. Are you going to have another Abo give a welcome to country again, or what?
Mate, that's a fucking low blow, and you know it.
It's pretty fucking funny.
Look, it's a it's a little bit funny. I'll give you that. Um, look, honestly, the last time we did have an Aboriginal lady up on stage with her fucking with her whatever colours are red, black, and fucking yellow. She was up there with her flag and she was waving it around. She didn't do a welcome to country, but it was just a something to keep everyone behind the stage and to keep this lady sort of a little bit happy and just yeah. Look, we won't be doing it again. I can say that much.
So you're not going to have any pidgin English translators?
No, mate, no. We're all Anglo Celtic fucking English speaking natives, mate.
That's a good one, mate.
That's the only people
That
going up on the stage.
that a right proper one.
Look, I think what people don't realise, and obviously I understand that Rachel was just having a bit of a laugh then, I get that, and it's good after that heated argument that, yeah, we're able to have a laugh. But one thing I will say though is, because I copped a bit of shit after the event as well in Sydney. And that was because I didn't ask for the Aboriginal flags to be taken down that were at the event. And I think that once you're in that moment and you're surrounded by 20,000 people, I think you start to realize, like, okay, look, do I really want to cause punch-ons to break out and have an all-out riot? Or do I just turn a blind eye or do this one thing that might keep people happy in the moment? Um, yeah, I think that that's what we've got to be mindful of as well, because we don't want to cause riots, and we don't want to have punch-ons breaking out. Um, and I don't regret my decision either. I think there was maybe 3 or 4 Aboriginal flags there on the day, and the ones that were there, they had an Australian flag with them as well, except for one lady that was what I will call a straight up agitator, and she was asked to move on, because she was just purposely getting in the way and trying to cause trouble. Yeah, and then she ended up going to the freaking front of the march in front of the media anyway, so she felt like she was leading the freaking day. So good on her. But I think that yeah, it can on the day I think things change just because we just don't want to have fights breaking out. Juggernaut, you were up next.
So I just want to jump in there, Beck, before Juggernaut jumps up. That was
Yeah,
well
go for
said,
it.
and that's exactly right. Like in this point of time, our job as organisers is to obviously organise things. But then once the day rolls around, our number one priority is keeping everyone safe, keeping everyone calm, keeping everything moving in an orderly fashion, which is part of organising. And sometimes you may have to do a couple of things that maybe might not sit well with everyone. But it's either that or you have a full blown fucking riot and you have people punching on and there's ambulances called and it turns to chaos. So yeah, well said. We'll go to Juggernaut now.
Cheers, guys. So hopefully it's not too echoey in here. I'm trying to get away from noisy kids. I think people that obviously are concerned about digital ID and all these other issues that people have talked about need to keep in mind is amongst all the people that marched on the August.
Is it's anti-white. If you're flying whatever, like you like back to what Benno was saying before. I do hate other races because they are a threat to my own. But you don't have to hate them to be racist. You're going to be counted racist alongside me who does hate, but you don't have to be racist because that flag is anti your own. It's anti you. It's anti white. It's anti Australian.
Anyway, this
Um,
space is glitched. I don't mean to interrupt, and I get on the whipping boy here, but so I can't see any hands.
okay, well then hold on then.
Yeah,
Just hold on then, because we've got plenty of hands. So I'm not sure who was next, whether it was Antonio, Rachel, or Chris. Desert or
Chris,
Baylie, do you know?
but there's
Chris?
Chris,
All right,
then Antonio, then me.
Yeah, I would
all
love
right,
to
I
go
go
have
for it then,
next,
Stephen and
Chris.
if you
I on
don't
the list.
mind.
Yeah, go for it.
Yeah, guys, look, in regards to immigration, we really have to accept with what we've got and put them on our team, literally, and accept them for who they are. And
Oh, fuck off, bro. Fuck
that's
off.
it. No, no, don't get me wrong. I'm white European. We built this country. I'm a concreter. I built high rises non-stop all over Sydney. And I understand the problem, but who caused the problem? It's these politicians that disregard or don't serve our best
Jews.
interests whatsoever. But we can sing and dance all we want in Sydney, in Brisbane, in Melbourne, and they're laughing at us. What does that achieve? We need to be in Canberra for the Freedom Rally 2.0 and give them an ultimatum. That's what it's going to take. We need to do it, organize it, and that's what we need to do to achieve some change. Because singing and dancing in the streets not going to achieve nothing. They're laughing at
Okay.
us.
I mean, look, I get where you're coming from somewhat, but I'm going to answer this as somebody who personally previously believed the exact same thing, because I originally came from the freedom movement. And I'm going to say something that's going to maybe upset a fair few people in this room and possibly even you. The freedom movement is dead. It's dead. It's gone. They're never going to achieve anything. I thought that we would eventually with being part of them, but they are dead and gone. They cannot organise a route in a brothel. It's just how it is, as sad as that is, because I think that it could have been such a strong force of people had there not been infiltration coming in left, right, and centre. But it is what it is, and the freedom movement is not going to save the world for you. A nationalist movement just may. I understand that it is government policy that we need changed, but to acknowledge the government policy change, we also need to acknowledge why we don't want the immigrants here. We need to acknowledge that it is a large portion of the African community that is running around the streets with machetes in their hands. It is a large portion of the Middle Eastern community that are raping women and teenagers and children. It's a large portion of the Indians who are disrespecting our country and just being
I
filth
totally
and
agree.
making a mess.
So,
So that's why we're highlighting that stuff, though. Yes, we want government policy change, but to explain why we want policy change, we need to, unfortunately, for those people and those groups, we do need to pinpoint exactly what they're doing wrong in our country.
Machete bins. That's the answer.
oh yeah, that really solves the problem with machete bins. Look, I totally agree. Like we're screwed. Like they're here already, and they need to be on our side, and we need to stop immigration because the cost of living and buying a house for the younger generation, our kids, is not achievable. So we literally can use them on our side to just stop the immigration that these politicians that are literally corrupt and bringing, like literally bringing the demise of a society. And then once that stops immigration, then we can say, all right, you know, Indians, blacks, or whatever, they can carry on with their own society. But at the end of the day, the white Europeans are literally funding their own demise. We're the people that have established, we've built businesses, we're funding, we're getting taxed 50%. The harder we work, we get taxed a lot more. And then we realize we can't afford a family, yet we're importing the third world and they've never had it any better, and they're popping out kids left, right, and center. And we're literally funding our own demise. People need to wake up, realize what's going on, and we need to do something about it. We need to go to Canberra, Freedom Rally 2.0, and
But mate,
actually,
would it be okay?
yeah, sorry, go.
You're
Would it be
absolutely
okay if all?
Hold on, that's me. I've muted everyone. I'm just gonna say our speaker list is full. This is not targeting anyone, but the next person to interrupt is getting removed from speakers. It's not at anyone, but it's just a threat. So just put your hands up and wait your turn, please. Thank you.
And we do have a fair few hands up. So, Antonio or Rachel, it was one of you.
Might have been Antonio, but I could be wrong.
It was Antonio.
Great, thank you, Beck and everyone. I had a point, but I want to follow up the previous speaker saying that marches can't do anything, or if maybe that was the assertion. But there's a country in South America called Peru. Right now, Generation Zs, who are basically a bunch of 18 to 26-year-olds, they protested for about 3 months on the streets. They surrounded the parliament, they surrounded the government palace, and literally just 10 hours ago, if you Google it, the president of Peru has resigned her role and is now trying to leave and flee the country. So we can't say that marches can't make a difference, because they can and they will. And we've seen it in history many, many different times. So these marches are super important. And also, we have to consider the fact that to some extent, you have no choice. Australia is going in completely the wrong direction. We're going backwards in every single facet. You can talk about culturally, you can talk about spiritually, economically. Australia is getting worse, and we all see it day by day. So we kind of have no choice. That was my first point, just to rebut. But I just want to talk about the motivation, at least behind the march for myself. It really has to do with empathy. Empathy, whether you're born and bred full Aussie or whether you're an immigrant. And I do say this as an immigrant because normal people, I imagine, when they come to a country, they should feel very, very sad and very sorry and feel empathy if they see the people that built that country basically go extinct. If you look at the trends, 50 years ago, 70 years ago, Australia was, let's say, 95% European. So we've gone from 95% to what are we now? Maybe 75%, 70%? So does that mean in another 50 years we're going to go from 70% to 40%? And European Australians will become a minority in their own country? That should cause sadness in anybody in the world. And as proof of why it should cause sadness, as I had a debate with a person about, and he was Aussie as well, it infuriates me. He said, "What's so wrong about Australians becoming a minority?" I said, "Well, do you feel sorry for the Tasmanian tiger?" He was like, "Well, what do you mean?" I said, "We all feel instinctively, we feel maybe a little sad that the Tasmanian tiger doesn't exist anymore because it's extinct. If the trend continues of this current trend of Europeans basically letting in mass migration, low fertility rates, Australians will become a minority, and eventually, like the white South Africans that are now 7% of the country, or Rhodesians, you will go extinct." So the Tasmanian tiger, I've thought about printing pictures of the Tasmanian tiger all over Sydney so people can wonder, what the hell is the message? The message is that you guys are going extinct. So we have to change the trend. We have to have empathy, and that's why we have to march. Yeah.
100%. Rachel, you put your hand down when you turned your mic on, but you were technically next up. So go for it, Rachel.
Yeah, I'm going to be very brief. When Chris was talking, and he touched on having accommodation with, first and second generation immigrants, I'm totally against that. We can't accommodate them because when you accommodate someone, that leads to compromise, and compromise leads us to a situation we're in now. So, there can be no accommodation, mate. You're either 100% against mass immigration or you're not. There's no middle ground to me. So I'm sorry, but from where I sit, compromise is death sentence.
Sorry, I wasn't watching hands after that. I don't know. Did you guys see?
My hand's the only one I can see up.
I've got you, Joey, and Eyes Wide Her at the same time, so I don't know what's going on.
Go, Joey, before me. I can only see myself.
All right, Joey, come on up.
Thank you. I just wanted to say I don't really like being compared to a Tasmanian tiger, and I understand why you might use that analogy, but I don't see white people as that. I think that there is a definite uh, ignorance and arrogance in the people who have mass migrated here, particularly in recent years, who seem to think that for some magic reason, if they get a stack of welfare and we pay the taxes for it and all that stuff, and they end up uh, being the majority, that this country will stay the same for them. It won't. We're the ones who pay the taxes. We're the ones who manage everything. We're the ones who built it. That they'll just ruin the country, and we, as white people, will find another place if we need to. If we can't take this land back, which I believe we can, it might get under some pretty nasty circumstances, but that may be the only way because we don't have a political solution at the moment. But we will take it back, or we will go somewhere else and we will build and we will have our own place without them in it. I find it really ignorant of the people who do come here from different cultures to think that they can just raid the joint and we'll keep working for taxes and pay their way. And once they become the majority, that money will still keep coming to them. It won't. But yeah, I just don't really like being compared to the Tasmanian tiger because there ain't no way we're going down that track as white people. That's what I wanted to say.
Thanks, Joey. So it was either, oh my God, it was either typical or eyes wide. I'm not
This is
sure.
eyes wide,
Eyes
and
wide can go first.
this is eyes wide, and I'd let typical go before me. Thanks.
That's
Okay.
lovely.
No worries. Cheers, mate. Um, not like part of the stuff I was going to bring up has partially been said. I appreciate when Antonio is coming from. I wanted to push back against that, but I want to provide the furthest right position possible because I want people to come towards me, and hopefully we can land somewhere in that right wing position. Is The fact we're having this conversation in the first place is why there needs to be zero, and why our ancestors who founded this country and they wanted this in the Constitution wanted no non-white people, let alone non-British Isles people, Western Europeans in Australia, because at the end of the day, the slippery slope is true, and it's the whole hard men create easy times, blah blah blah. We all know it. Easy times brought this about, where boomers got to say, "Oh, everyone's just as lovely as us," and we're heading towards, at least, the hard times where people are going to have to wake the fuck up, and it's going to come at least when the boomers have died off. But I don't want to go for this cycle again, and that's what our ancestors were trying to do for us. Like, they seen it before us, yet somehow we still ended up in this position. But that's why, just have a look, folks. Like, it doesn't matter if you have some nice Asian, or even, God forbid, some African friend. Look at the majority. I don't care about your minority, and I don't care if they do pay taxes. I don't want my grandchildren, or God forbid, fucking, well, not my children, that's an impossibility. My grandchildren looking like another race. Like, I know I'm speaking to people who can't comprehend that, because I can't comprehend them, because I can't comprehend not wanting your grandchildren to look like yourself. Imagine blue eyes, blonde hair. I'm not blonde haired myself, but I wouldn't want that to not exist anymore. And I don't, like, as was brought up, the Tasmanian tiger example. I don't just want us to exist anymore. I want the country to be Australian, and we know what we mean when we say Australian. And we can get into the WOG question later on, like the welcome here for now. Like, we can deal with that later on. The Europeans, I'm more than happy to have them above Indians. Like, that's just a conversation that doesn't need to be had. But no, like, when we don't just deserve to exist, we deserve to thrive, not just survive.
I just want to, before we go to Eyes Wide, I just want to add something to what you said. Like, okay, so I know that earlier in the space you openly admitted to being racist, and that's fine. Good on you. But what I want to say is, I think that people have to remember that there are such thing as preferences too. And just because somebody says, I don't want to have babies with a black person, that doesn't make you racist. Like, I know that in your case, like, your stance on it, but I'm saying in general, it is not racist or a bad thing for somebody to say, I only want to marry and have children and reproduce with white people. That's
Well, I
not
think
a bad thing.
then you're just starting to get into them. That's kind of what I'm getting at. Is why I get stuck in the weeds with these people. When they call you racist, they just hate you for being white. Like, we all
Yeah.
understand that. Don't get into the weeds with them. Like, we can have that minutia argument, but I think it's just a waste of energy. Just disempower them and be like, yes, I prefer my own people. What of
Yeah,
it?
I think the conversation though helps because there are a lot of people like, and they're the people that attended March for Australia, for example. They're the people that are on the fence. They think like us, but they're scared to think like us. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah,
And that's
I
where the
hear you, but
conversations are
I also
beneficial.
do want to make it clear my position is, like, those people who think, oh, I'm not prejudiced, I don't mind if I have black grandchildren. I want to convince them otherwise as well. Like, I think that comes from it's the same position as, like, say you're a leftist and they're like, oh, the boomers don't care that the greenhouse gases, and it's sort of the same vein. Like, I don't care if my grandchildren are brown, I'm not going to be around. Why? You can't care about your nation, you can't care about being white if you don't care about what your descendants are going to inherit, what they're going to, if they're going to be your own. Do you get what I'm getting at? Like, it is important. I want to convince them people otherwise. Like, oh, I don't mind if my son marries a Taiwanese, Thai jungle Asian who, is looking for a fucking easy go of it in Australia. It is important.
I get you 100%.
Yeah.
I think it was Eyes Wide, and then we'll go Chris, and then I think it was Juggernaut. I think.
Thanks for that, Beck. And yeah, I've been listening to everyone, and it's just like the Chinese were digging were digging at the Eureka Stockade in the gold rush. So the Chinese and other Asians have been here for 200 years. So to say that they should all, we all just instill these policies and just tell them all to fuck off, it's like, that's just not realistic and it's not real. And like, if you want white children or you want white grandchildren, then do what Jesse and Beck did and find a yellow partner. Sorry, a white partner. But to say that everyone should just fuck off because they're not white skinned is just.
That's what your ancestors said, though.
You've had an education, bro. Thank you so much for adding some fucking reality to this conversation.
What is Australia? Like, what is Australia if that's not what the ancestors, our founders wanted? That's exactly what they wanted.
In the
What you're
Constitution.
saying they didn't want,
Facts,
that's what they
bro.
wanted.
History facts. What you said about the gold diggers and the Chinese, fucking facts. The
Yeah, they
Italians,
kicked the
the Reds,
Chinese
all
out.
of them.
Hold on, hold on, hold on, hold on, hold on. Fuck. My God. Benno, was that even you? I don't even know if that was you. I think that was you. Like, shut up. You had your hand up. Just wait. I'm sorry, but fuck, that just went from 0 to 100 in seconds. Put your hand back up and we'll get to you soon. Chris or Juggernaut, I think, was up next.
I just want to emphasize, like, who was it? It was racial, hang on, racial realism. I know what you're saying. Like, we need the right white race to, you know, be literally like gain supremacy upon every other race. But we're in a predicament where we've imported so many individual races, the Indians, the Chinese, the Lebanese, Muslims, and whatnot. We need to deal with the situation that we've currently got, and we need is and what the government is doing. They want to literally divide us and fight between ourselves, whereas we need to come together and overcome the government that is suppressing us. Because these third world countries have never had it any better. We're paying, like I said before, we're paying for our own demise. We have had life so good where we would be able to fund a
So you're a communist.
no, literally, you'd be able to
Well, you
fund.
want to take from Australians and give to these third.
No, I don't. I literally don't. But we need to stop the oil leak and then clean
And
up
let
the
them fix
mess.
their
Do you
own countries.
understand? Who's importing all these people? 1,500 people a day. We need to stop that right away, and then
So we
clean
need
the
to
mess up.
unite with the people being imported against the people importing them.
Sorry.
We need to unite with the people being imported against the people importing them.
Basically, yes, because everything's
That's
unaffordable.
fucking
Like,
retarded,
to
you
be
fucking
honest,
idiot.
life is affected by everyone here. They can't afford a house as much as we can't.
You're a fucking retard.
I did warn you, typical. You've just been removed from speakers. Chris, go on, please.
No, I'm just saying for the time, like for right now, we need as many people on our side as we can because their mission is to try to divide us. Whereas we know what the problem is. We need to stop the oil leak and then clean up the mess later. If they want to live life upon their society and whatever they want to do, go by all means, go for it. But it's too late to get rid of them because we're like I said, we're funding our own demise. We're getting taxed 50%. And we're giving it straight to these people that are getting free housing, a free salary every 2 weeks to fund their life, their kids, and they've never had it any better. And they're popping out kids left, right, and center. Whereas the white European race knows that they can't afford a kid, a proper education. I know it sounds like we're spoilt, but that's what we're used to. We deserve the life that we've brought upon ourselves by providing ourselves with with such like we've prospered, we've built ourselves such anyway. It's just you know what I'm trying to say. I'm sure you do.
So, yeah, we do know what you're saying, mate, and I want to jump in just before everyone else. I know they probably have some counter arguments to that, but I want to put in my little 2 cents anyway. Look, just look at, say, the Indian population, for example. 85% of them are voting Labor, which is a fact, a statistic that come out from the Redbridge Group recently. Do you think they're going to prioritise Australia over their own family, who Labor are bringing in more and more of? It's just not going to happen, mate. There's not
Yeah.
a chance in hell you're going to convince these people to prioritise our country over their own family. You have to have that bit of in-group preference, and it might be hard for some people to hear, but it's a sad reality of the situation we're facing, mate. And look, I definitely get where you're coming from. A lot of people are still sort of moving away from that and into where we need to be. But you really have to think about it. Would you prioritize a foreign country over your own family? Because I know for a fact I wouldn't.
Yeah, I'm with you. Like I said, we're singing and dancing in all the cities like Melbourne, Sydney, Queensland, Gold Coast, or whatnot. We need to be at Canberra, take a stance. No one moves, and we give them an ultimatum, and that's what has to be done. Until we do that, the politicians are laughing at us. I'm sorry, that has to be done. Until we do
Yep,
that, nothing's going to be achieved.
yep, it's a fair point. I see where you're coming from. We'll go to Juggernaut. I believe he was next up.
Cheers. I think it's absolutely incredible to me that people would think that immigrants that are currently here are going to band together with us to stop, as Billy Bailey touched on, more immigrants from their own country coming here. They're going to fight us every step of the way. And, one day, God willing, or whatever, whoever you believe in, that we do get to take this country back, that then we would keep these people around who have fought us tooth and nail and trying to keep the floodgates open and bringing all their people here. Um, and to refer back to the entire history of mankind, multiculturalism has never worked in a single country ever. It's always gone this route. People come in, they form enclaves, separatist groups, then the next thing you know, governments are pandering to one group or another until these people get in a position where they can manipulate votes, whether they can fund campaigns and stuff to keep things going. We are such a golden ticket to countries like India where people come over and get these opportunities. There's no way on earth they're ever going to go, well, hang on, well, we're here, but we're going to stop the rest. They're bringing 60 and 70-year-old relatives over here who then get jumped straight on the bloody welfare system. Now, some people will say that it's not feasible to send everyone back. But in reality, that's a moral quandary that some people might struggle with. It's quite simple. Even if you say you take what your accumulated wealth that you've earned here and go. We cut foreign aid to all these countries. We send bills to the embassies. They owe us the money. Bit by bit, we're reducing it down. We've got 2.7 million temporary visa holders here, plus the whatever the real number of immigrants that come in. Instantly overnight, 3 million gone. 20% of all criminals in Australia are foreign-born citizens. There's no politician or party in the history of Australia that would effectively be able to reduce the number of criminal perpetrators by 20% effectively overnight by drawing a line through somebody's name instead of under it. I know people aren't all going to agree, and I think this is the problem too, is a lot of people have come to March for Australia, which has always been touted as a nationalist movement, and even me, I'm at the far right extreme of the spectrum, if you want to call it that. Even people that are in alignment with me aren't going to agree on the little nitty gritty issues, but people that have come from centrist or center right sort of things and trying to apply their logic, it just doesn't fly and it just doesn't work. We just have to have the balls to do what needs to be done.
Hold on. I know
We
there's
got a few
hands.
blocks
Hold on,
left.
dead set. Hold on, hold on. I know there's
Go ahead.
hands, but I need to say something now. I mean, did he leave the space as well? Yeah, he did. Okay, so I understand that not everyone in this space is going to agree with everyone. Okay. However, if people are in this space that is literally titled March for Australia, then they already know how they're viewed. So if they're willing to come into this space and they're sitting on the fence and they don't fully align with us, but they're still wanting to come here and have a chat with us, then I don't see why we should be getting abusive with them or cutting them off or telling them to fuck off. We want to build an army. Why would we restrict ourselves? If people are on the fence, then conversation is key. So I will forever invite positive conversation and public discourse. It's what we need in this world. So let's hope that moving on throughout this space, we can continue to have discussions and get along and get different opinions. Dead set, I don't know who was next because I was in messages, but if you're able to, because there's so many hands.
Yeah, I'm just going to dictate who gets to talk first. Fuck it. Joey, you go first.
Oh, thank you. I was going to forget what I was going to say. One thing, I've got a couple of points. One is that remigration is entirely possible. I saw something on Twitter recently that showed that you could get 3.7 million people flown out of Europe within a week. So I don't like the blackpilling on remigration. It's actually quite doable if you have the power and the will to do it. Working out who and what is another story, but there's no blackpilling on we're stuck with this now and we have to keep this and blah blah blah. The other point I wanted to make was someone said there was some Chinese here when we were, when we were in the gold rush or whatever, some carry on. So there were like 5 Chinese people here. So now we have to have infinity Chinese people here. Give me a break. Give me an absolute fucking break, please. That's rubbish. The other thing that I want to say, and I said this in a space the other night, is that races are different, and I went through that. We're all different. The races are different. There's nothing wrong with that. The races are different. Okay, culture is downstream from race. Our cultures are different and connected to our race, for the most part. And so